Welcome back into TexAgs Radio.
All right.
Presented by David Gardner's Jewelers.
Reppin'.
Rollo Insurance Studio.
You guys are trying to hit all the
How you like that
colors here, huh, for the holidays?
You try to break that down.
Want to hit keep everyone happy. I like it.
Have you had TexAgs coffee yet, Steve? You should try it.
I have not. Is
I've
it good?
seen it.
Yeah, it's good.
If y'all make K-Cups, I'll try that. I'm more of a K-Cup guy.
I don't think
that
they
may
You
be
don't like
happening.
a freshly brewed cup of coffee? You just take a K-Cup
Way
over
too
that?
Yeah.
lazy to do all that work.
Way too busy.
This guy.
How are you folks? You good?
We're great, man.
Great.
Now that we got all this coaching search figured out.
Butter.
So,
Butter.
so
Seth, no tweets or anything.
No, only positive tweets about the future.
I want to know,
and
did I have
outlook.
you tweeting about your opinions on Stoops and then
No, I didn't
having
tweet
a
any
few hours
opinion
later
on-
coming back
No,
with
not
the
at all.
Elko one?
But you
was-
should have seen the background text going.
There was a lot of negative text
a lot of
about
angst
Stoops.
about that.
Rightly so. Okay, and so
Oh, but no, don't let him fool you, dude. He was completely
I was trying.
gone.
I was trying to. I was trying to talk myself.
30 minutes into it, he was already trying to talk himself into it. I'm like, Seth, no.
It's like the opposite.
This is not good.
It's the
It
reverse
was.
of the
I
statement.
was asking. I was being like dead serious. I was like, look, I am an optimistic person.
You're like, what am I missing
I am
here?
not a negative. I'm not the negative guy. Tell me, give me. Anyways, luckily I don't have to go down that road, and we got the guy that we needed at A&M, and so I'm excited about it.
All I needed to know about the hire was that I got a call the other day from one of our good friends that may or may not be a high school football coach. One of the more negative friends we've got over a span of 25 years. And what sucks about it is he ends up always being right because, you know, if you've just had a negative outlook on A&M football for 25 years, you're more right than the opposite. But he calls and he goes, "I'm back in, baby." Like,
Nice.
I mean, I think part of it has to do. I think he's always loved the way Elko's recruited,
Right.
and also always loved he loves the idea of a defensive head coach again.
Yeah.
And he and a lot of other coaches texted me after that press conference around the state, saying how good it made him feel and how far it went with the Texas high school coaches. Not just everybody gets up there and says a line.
Right.
If you become the head coach at Texas or A&M or U of H or TC and you don't say a line, then you're just an idiot. And that tells me from the get-go you don't understand the landscape of the job you just took.
Yep.
Anybody does that. Everybody knows that, whether I think of it or you tell me. So everybody, but that wasn't rehearsed or practice. That was just from the heart. And he has prior proof in that
Right,
pudding.
of going
Coaches
down
have
that
seen
road,
him.
yeah.
They know. You know, like
Yeah.
so. It just you don't. Here's my thing about Texas high schools. You have to recruit this state as your base and foundation. These guys also understand that in Texas A&M, Texas, these schools in the state of Texas and the SEC now, you have to go national.
Yeah.
You have to. Bama's not sticking local. Georgia's not sticking local. No one's recruiting just one state.
Right.
They're all coming into Texas. These coaches are sending guys to all these schools. They can't expect you to only take Texas kids when they're letting their kids go elsewhere. And they don't control what the kids do. But you know what I'm saying.
Mm-hmm.
They get that. But make this a welcoming place for them.
Right.
Make them feel at home. Make them feel wanted.
Make it a place where they can learn.
And be real, back and forth too.
Right.
I mean, there is stuff to be learned from these high school coaches, especially in this state. So as long as you have that kind of relationship,
Yeah.
you're
And
golden.
it's
need that
not that
positivity.
hard. It's not that hard to do. It's not that hard to go to a conference and spend 2 hours. Like, knock that out.
Yeah.
It's just like, that's 2 hours of this day. Just like part of your job. Go do it. It's not that hard.
Well, and I think the next part of that is hire a really strong high school relations
Absolutely.
guy.
And,
Right.
and that's
Put a
something we've been
lot of
missing.
thought into that.
We had one.
We've had two.
We've had a couple, but we
But- and
haven't
they're-
had one.
And they're
but
great
even-
dudes, but they were on the tail end. They both retired after this job. So to me, hire a young up and comer. Go hire someone from, like, I'm making up a name here, but like go hire a Jason Glenn, or he's not even coaching. You could even hire a sitting Texas high school head coach if you really, so.
But you do have
That's
to have
an
those
important
relationships.
deal.
The coaches have to feel welcomed. You need to have that rapport with the coaches, because we didn't have that. Even when we had the whatever the position was, it wasn't really that effective.
Yeah.
I mean, truthfully, the high school coaches did not feel welcomed to just come to practices.
Who was the old coach at Judson? D.W. Rutledge. Okay. And I think when Jimbo got here, they were literally like, you need to talk to D.W. Rutledge. And I get it. But, I mean, no, there's like guys that all over the state that are active and very prominent right now.
Right.
That, so Nuno,
Yes, sir.
you want me to do your job real quick
You
while you
can.
type? Seth, Steve, tell us your
thoughts.
initial thoughts on the hire. We haven't talked to you yet.
Well, I'll go first. I thought that, originally when I saw the Stoops thing, I was kind of like, I didn't get it. I didn't understand, if that was real or, why that would be a good fit here. And I don't think I ever really went pie in the sky too much. I didn't.
You weren't thinking the Lanning days of the world. Yeah.
And I didn't even think those would be great fits. I mean, yeah, Lanning's a good coach, but I don't know. It just felt like A&M needed something different than that. We've already done the splashy hire. That didn't work for us. It's not like the whole time I thought that Elko had to be the guy. I knew he was always one of the names.
Yeah. There was rumors out there that he wasn't, and I just laughed because I'm like, dude, if anything, he's stopping this thing's going up. The more they talk to him and get to know his plan.
I just didn't know. I didn't know enough about Elko, honestly, because he never was allowed to talk.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd never really heard him speak a whole lot to where I remembered him or he had an impact on me.
Yeah.
So when I saw, once the hire came through, the things that really jumped out at me that I bought in immediately, all his former players came out loving the hire.
Yeah.
And I said it to several people. Your former players don't come out like that if they don't like you. If they don't really have to. They don't have to. They don't say negative stuff. They just don't say anything. But they came out in full support. The players loved it. And then I heard his press conference. And then I've seen him do a couple interviews. I'm like, this guy gets it. And he's a perfect fit. And he's exactly what we need at this moment. And, we've talked and I've heard how he is behind the scenes, organized and, disciplinarian type. Strength and conditioning will actually be a lot better, I believe.
Yeah,
and there'll be a lot more accountability in the weight room and on the practice field.
My favorite part of his little interview circuit was when he was talking to McAfee and his trophy case was empty. He's like, I don't care about decorating. I'll do that next year. You know what I'm saying? Yes. I thought that was pretty cool. And it's telling of what he's got going on over there. And listening to you, Billy, and then everybody else that has any insight on him, he's got a plan of action on what he's doing. And that's the thing that excites me the most is that in today's age in football, you have, and I've said it previously, I was like, it's like when Jimbo wasn't doing it, NCAA football right now, I think, is harder than the NFL, getting the players right and ranking them and all of that stuff. There's so much that you have to do in college football that it's ridiculous. Yeah. And if you don't have a plan like I think Elko is implementing over there, then you're not going to succeed at it. And so I'm excited that he's actually going to put things in place. And I actually talked to NIL donors that we need. Like no matter what anybody says or hates or whatever, NIL is what it's going to make this program go. Yeah. It just really is. Besides all the stuff that Elko does, coaches, X and O's, NIL is going to make this program go, love it or hate it. Kids are going to go to the money. That's where the talent is going to be. And we're just going to go from there. So.
But you know what, like we've all talked about it, we all know we're going to have to pay players. What we got to do is we got to put people in place, personnel departments in place so that we're paying the right players.
Exactly.
Because there's plenty of talent out there. And you can go pay the wrong players and you see how they act in the locker room. You see what they do at practice. You need to make sure that you're getting the right guys' money so that culture, and you hear him talk about, Elko talk about culture. You have
to have that.
Like he gets that. He understands that winning championships happens because of culture. What did he say? He said something about talent plus culture is how you get championships. So he gets it. And I like the plan that he's bringing in.
You say that you're optimistic by nature, but there's levels to that, right? Like, so Stoops, you were trying to find a reason to be optimistic. Why optimistic with Elko? Just the plan?
Yeah, the plan, and I've seen what he's done, and what he's done here meaning that the X's and O's, like, check that box. And I'm not trying to compare this, that, and the other against Stoops, but he checks the X's and O's box. He, like, legitimately was a great defensive coordinator. He goes to Duke, which, let's just be real, turning Duke around, and I don't care who's at quarterback, turning them around to win the number of games that he's done in 2 years is incredible. And so, yeah,
by the way,
proven
even their losses have been incredibly high percentage of very close losses. And again, it's Duke.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that was the end of it. Is like he's won that number of games. There was some, like, your posters are crazy on TexAgs, but there was one post that really caught my attention. It was like the coaches, great coaches, and where they came from. Yeah, and you had Saban, his record at Michigan State, which was above, like, it was around what Elko was. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't anything spectacular, but it was around that, and everybody was around, a little bit above 500, maybe 600, something like that. And then I didn't have any idea about Elko's record at the time, but then I saw he was like 16-8 at the time, and I'm like, dude, that's like, yeah, that gives me hope right there that he has a record that's just as good as any of these greats of all time or whatever. And I'm not going, I'm not putting that pressure on him, but he's got that ability. He's got.
Like
Let's do it. Let's do it, Seth. Let's pressure him.
It's a high pressure job.
And guys, I have optimism that he's going to get the right staff in place. Like he developed, or he had a very good staff at Duke if he brings some of those guys over. But I do think the amount of money that they can put into those positions, and I know you said it's more than just coaches, but the football operation, and him handpicking something different than we've had here, I think will go a long way.
Yeah.
If I'm not mistaken, Ross and the athletic department are cutting
2.5
the total amount spent.
Mm-hmm.
So they're not, and that's fine. I mean, because you're having to pay off that. You had to do something to be able to fire Jimbo Fisher. You had to. So.
But now you don't need two super high paid coordinators.
You can or you can't. You can do it because you're cutting, but that's their whole football support staff. So people around the country saw that as it's 11 million.
Well, Ross explained on this show part of the thinking behind it. Like, it's not that it's necessary. It is less, but there's going to be a plan behind the less. It's not just throwing money every year at different things. It's just going to have, all right, this is where this is going to go with an actual plan as opposed to creating stuff all the time.
Well, I don't know how
things like raises will be thought of more and maybe sometimes turned down.
Well, I don't know how they built their plan, but I can tell you how I would have built the plan. I would have looked at exactly what I need to go win a national championship, and then I would have backed it out from there. Mm-hmm. You don't just throw a number and say, hey, make it work in that number. You say, this is what we need, and then let's figure out how much that costs, and that's your budget.
Yeah.
I mean, I would look at what other programs that are winning championships are paying.
No doubt.
I mean, if we want to be that caliber, that's what we've got to be. I don't care what else you cut in the department. You got to be at that caliber for football.
If you hire a new coach, you've got to do that in his salary. You got to do it in not necessarily in his salary because he's coming up from somewhere. You got to do what it takes to hire him. But you got to do it in terms of what you're going to offer him to be able to spend in assistance. If I'm saying beat him, and him, but I'm going to start you off by giving you less, how does that work? Mm-hmm. A&M, fortunately, does not have to do that. So I'm going to give you what he's got, and we're going to try to do that in terms of facilities, check. Do that in terms of assistant coaches, who you can hire, check. How you build out your staff, check. And then comes NIL. And when you hire a coach, you can't check that box. You can say, hey, we're one of these, we're one of the halves. But when the coach gets here, he has to find out how have is A&M really. Mm-hmm. And that's, you mentioned it, Seth. I think Elko will be very involved in terms of, hey, if we've got a big donor that might be willing to commit to NIL, will the head coach sit down and have some FaceTime with him? Those kind of things are very important. And I think with Elko, the answer will always be yes, because I think he fully understands the importance in 2023 of NIL and the portal.
Well, that's great. Well, that's the best thing you can say.
NIL, the portal, and let's just call it roster development and retention, roster management. And those are things that I felt very confident in ahead of time. And I'm going to tell you that I think people and I'm not gonna talk about Stoops anymore. My list when this whole thing started, if I had 3 coaches on it, it probably, like when I'm thinking of like attainable 3 coaches. So in other words, like Dan Campbell was not on it.
Yeah.
We know Dan. We know he wasn't leaving Detroit with what they've got going right now. Attainable on my list, if you said give me 3 names, I genuinely, all BS aside, would have had Dan Lanning, Mike Elko, and Kalen DeBoer at Washington. That would have been my 3. Then I found out not only did Lanning have a $20 million buy, but he had the Nike. Then fine. But those were my 3 when the thing started. Mike Elko would absolutely have been on there knowing what I knew about him. So my problem with Stoops, and Stoops might have been in like a top 6 or 7. When you're talking about attainable, like he's not way off of there. It didn't feel like a great, wonderful fit just from he's been doing it for quite a while. He's been at one point. My only like true concern with that deal was mediocre pedestrian offenses have been a big part of his problem throughout the time at Kentucky.
Oh my gosh.
And
that was all it was.
And that was like
it.
That's the last thing anyone wants. And you look at DeBoer and Lanning and what I'm thinking about there, and then you go look at like what Mike Elko did at Duke this year with Riley Leonard and a team that probably full of 3-star recruits.
Right.
They had I don't know if you watched them or not. They had an exciting 2023 college offense.
They did. Like they moved the ball. Yeah, it
wasn't too wide open.
No.
There was like, you could tell it's a defensive coach coaching it. It's not like as fast as humanly possible and tax the it was exactly what we want to see here.
Well, I'll just add that and I'm not going to talk about Stoops anymore either because they beat that horse completely dead. Mm-hmm. But
is that you say that because it's Lexington?
no pun intended.
But expensive horse.
But you can't you can't go to a press conference, right, and say that you're going 55 in the fast lane, and then go hire a guy that's been driving 55 his whole life.
That's a good point.
I mean, give me a break.
That's funny.
Elko embraces modern offense.
My only question was like, why? And I couldn't find an answer to that.
All right, Seth, you're beating a dead horse now.
Here we go.
Last thing
You're
about
beating a dead horse by saying beating a dead horse.
Last part about the staff. It feels to me, and you have way more insight, that this is not a dragged out process. I think in years past, we saw certain positions take a lot longer than expected to be hired.
Yeah.
And I feel like it'll take the time it needs to take, but it's not going to be dragged out.
I think a lot of coaches in 2023 have things in their contract, like we're leaving before signing day, are heavily penalized.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a couple weeks from now. Like, I think a lot of times that factors in. Mm-hmm. And I don't think people have started to catch on to that yet. Like, hey, if it's before signing day, you're paying their entire, you're buying out their whole contract remaining.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
If it's after signing day, I'm making up a number, you're paying half or whatever, quarter, or however it works. But that's how a lot of this is structured now. It's not like the head coach can get up there and just start saying that. Mm-hmm. But he's got a lot going, I'm sure. I do think you'll start seeing coaches get here, obviously prior to that. I think you're going to see a nice mix of some Duke assistants. I think you're going to see him go out and shop anew. There's going to be a lot of new additions that weren't on his Duke staff. I don't think you're going to see very much holdover from Bright.
Really?
And I mean on his staff. I mean on the extended staff. I'm not saying any one person can probably stay, other than obviously Adazio, Petrino, and Damian Craig. But I don't expect that to be the case. I think the primary one is Elijah. BGA played for him, and then, was with him here. So I think those are guys. I think Tony Jarrett-Eddy on the support staff side, on the GA side, has been pretty important. So, I mean, it's like when I'm thinking in my head, it's a short list. And in terms of Elijah, people have been asking about, there was a thread on the board, and then Olin lobby lizarded it up yesterday and brought it to the show. But I think Syracuse will be a player in that. I think he'll have a decision really quickly. Syracuse is a unique opportunity for him because
you think you get a head coaching job?
No, as a DC, and a DC with his lifelong friend. They're from the same hometown. In
well, who's this?
Georgia's defensive backs coach.
Is he took the head coach?
Okay, so he has that offer. He has an offer to stay here, and I will say this: it's my understanding that the offer here is, I mean, whatever a max offer is for a position coach in college football, that's what that is.
Yeah.
Not to go into details, but they've put a really, like, not many D coordinator jobs, even in Power 5, probably would pay what he would make to stay here. So it's not about that. And so it's about, figuring out. I think Elijah's in a very interesting spot, guys, because, like, the friend element makes it, I think, different. But do you go DC at a place like Syracuse?
No,
I would not at all. I think that's a setback.
That seems like career suicide.
Well,
I'm with you.
Like if you went to like a South Carolina type school, that's different.
Okay.
Yeah.
I agree completely. I think it's a bad business decision.
He's 2 years away as a good DC here from getting a nice head coaching job.
My question I wanted to ask is different. Like, because I'm not saying that for sure they won't change the mind and he's a DC. I don't know that. I don't suspect that. But I'm talking about making the jump from D-line coach to head coach without having the DC stop.
I absolutely.
Dan Campbell did that.
I was just about to say.
His friend that's going to Syracuse did that. Like, I just think he's gotten so much buzz right now because of the job he's done here and the on-the-job training and showing kind of the world, damn, this dude has what it takes to be a head coach.
You make a great point there, and I think that you can easily skip, just like the guy at Georgia did.
Yeah.
But going for like,
and I haven't looked at his background. Maybe he was a DC somewhere prior.
Right. I don't know. Either.
People do it.
But you can do that for sure. Coordinator, man, you like. I think that is something that takes a little bit of time and knowing what's going on in the defensive backfield,
on the job learning,
things of that nature. And I think you can make the skip from a position coach to a head coach by being the kind of guy that he is. He's the glue guy, right?
Yeah.
He can recruit. Those are like essentials for a head coach.
You saw how great he was with the media.
You don't have to be a complete X's and O's guy to be the head coach. You don't have to know everything about it, everything. You just got to be you got to just look at Dan.
You got to have good leadership.
Have the team buy-in, be able to talk to the media, be able to talk to people that are in control of NIL and show them that you know what you're doing and you have a plan.
And those people that you're talking about, we see the videos of the players and stuff, but I'm telling you, like, the way he was, a lot of donors and people that really matter around here that opened their eyes and they were like, damn, like, so, and it just the way he has been with it, like he's a head coach.
He is. I agree.
It's just a matter of time. So that'll be interesting. Anyway,
I wonder how close he was to getting this job. At what point?
I bet he was in the conversation.
He was, but I'll be really interested. Is obviously it's not going to be an easy decision when there's friendships and family and all of the above involved. And so yeah, and then also he didn't get the head job. How does that affect him?
Yeah.
Deep down, like, I don't know, and I don't know the answer to that. But I think he's got a real tough decision on, do I go out, kind of venture from the nest and go try this DC thing and see how it works out at Syracuse, or do I stay, have a great contract, kick ass on defense, and if we have a top 5 defense for the next 3 years, which between him, Elko, and the players they've got, how quickly does that translate into a? Because you look at a place like a Syracuse, that level, I think he could be a head coach there in a year or two. Somewhere like that pops open is going to look at Elijah Robinson.
I don't disagree at all.
Yeah, but if this team is a top 10 team next year with one of the best defenses in the country, what door does that open a year from now for him?
Exactly.
That's what I'm saying. I'm saying, like, by then, I think he can be a head coach at a level that he's thinking that he's got the offer anyway to go be a DC at.
Guys, we have a short segment here to get back on the clock. So before we do pick 6, we'll do pick 6 in a little bit. I'll ask you a question.
It's a big week.
Is there any way the SEC doesn't get a team?
Nah. I don't.
Well, if there's any sanity out there, there's no way on earth. Like you're going to sit there as a voter and not put the conference who's won like the last, 18 championships not in the playoffs. That would be the most ludicrous thing anybody has ever done. The champion has come out of the SEC for, y'all know the answer to this, X number of years since it's been in existence. And to not have that conference represented is just a joke. And if it doesn't happen, then shame on them. That's dumb.
So if Georgia loses?
So you're telling me
I'm asking.
For the SEC to get left out, you're telling me that number 8 beats number 1 and number 7 leapfrogs that number 1, but number 8 doesn't leapfrog 7.
I think most people believe Texas gets in before Bama.
I've heard people say that, and I understand the whole what happens on the field matters, but it's also about the 4 best teams.
Can we talk about the number 5 and 6? Texas magically jumping them? Oregon and Ohio State?
Well, they're going to jump Ohio State because they'll be a conference champion.
Yeah, I think that'll push them over. I think Oregon stays ahead of Texas.
If they win.
If they win, Oregon stays ahead. Washington goes below. Then you're looking at
if FSU wins,
who might be on their third string quarterback now. This is amazing.
Yeah, amazing.
It's amazing what's happening to the Texas Longhorns this season with.
How many backup quarterbacks did they play?
And I know they had backup quarterbacks over there. They had to play without Ewers. Go look at who they played. Okay, the best team they played without Ewers was Kansas State at home, and that was the only one with even a pulse. And
they should have beat them.
They played Wyoming's backup quarterback. They played Baylor's backup quarterback. They played
U of H, but that was their starter.
U of H had a starter. They barely beat U of H. I believe they played TCU's backup quarterback. They barely beat TCU. It took a miracle catch from A.D. Mitchell. Great use of the portal, by the way. They played. Here's a big one. They played Kansas's backup quarterback.
That's right.
Jaden Daniels.
Bean.
No, they played against Bean. What's his name? Jaden. Anyway, the quarterback at Kansas. Without him, who's
Jalen Daniels.
Jalen Daniels. I say Jaden Daniels and Jalen Daniels.
So it's tough. That's a tough one.
Thank you.
I agree.
I got your back.
And I'm talking Jalen Henderson here at Aggieland lately. But they played Kansas without him. That's a massive. That's by far and away their best player, and they're pretty solid team with him. It's just been one of those. Kansas State gifted it to them with a horrific decision. They've been living the charmed life, but this takes the cake. This takes the cake. 2 weeks before the end of the season, Hunter goes down. Okay. Jordan Travis.
Sorry.
Hunter Travis. Jordan Travis goes down. Okay. He's out for the season. Now, Florida State with their backup gets by Florida. Now they're going to the ACC Championship, taking him to play Louisville, and they might be playing with their third string QB.
Yeah, it's unbelievable.
Because of it. A late hit late in the football game.
Yeah, it's unbelievable.
It's like whatever roadblock was there without them doing anything, it's just doing this. Meanwhile, when A&M tried to get in the playoff, you had Kirk Herbstreit openly weeping on TV, trying to get Ohio State in. So it's enough to drive you nuts, but I also have watched enough championship weekend to say, let's see what happens, because you never know when the Aggies are going to go knock off Kansas State on the same day that, everything else falls apart.
Let's go, OSU. Let's go.
Edgerrin James runs for 300 yards and knocks off Cade McNown in UCLA on the same day that Texas A&M.
Wait, real quick, I want your opinion. Go back to the SEC talk. You're telling me, I'm talking about the conference. I don't care who that person is. We're talking about a one-loss SEC champion not being invited for the first time ever.
So you'd have to say, let's say Washington wins, Michigan wins, so that's 2. Florida State wins, that's in this debate too. And then it would be Texas going in as a conference champ over a one-loss
over Ohio State,
Georgia, who didn't win their conference, who lost to the team that Texas beat, and it would be Texas going in over a one-loss Bama, 2 conference champs, Texas winning the head-to-head. See, I have a hard time I actually would have a harder time with Texas going in over Georgia because I've watched football all year. And their whole spiel is like right now that they're saying to keep Florida State out is who are the best teams. It's supposed to get the 4 best teams. Then if that's the case, we know Georgia's in no matter what happens, unless Bama runs them out of this building in Atlanta because Georgia is the best team. We've watched it all year. Mm-hmm. If you want to argue Michigan, you can, but Georgia is the best team. If you want to say who looks the best right now, Oregon looks light years better than Texas. That's why I think Oregon should go over Texas if they beat Washington, which they will. But Texas over Georgia, you're going to go, well, they're a conference champ. And I'm going to say they won the Big 12.
Some conference.
Which is
which you're leaving.
Which is bad as it's ever been. To win their conference championship game, they are going to have to beat a team that lost, what'd they lose to? South Alabama. They got humiliated. Mm-hmm. And they lost to Central Florida 45-3. That's who Texas has to beat on Saturday, whereas Georgia will have to beat Bama. Bama will have to beat Georgia. And I know Texas beat Bama in the week 2. I'm just not sure that should get them in, but there's part of me on principle that does feel like if it comes down to Alabama or Texas, I would almost on principle say Texas has got to go.
So Bama basically doesn't have a chance.
In their house by more than a score.
Yeah.
Bama basically
in my world, they shouldn't.
But Bama doesn't have a chance, basically.
Well, Texas could lose.
Texas could lose it, and
but in my world,
I can't fathom it.
Seth is flabbergasted.
I hate to say that because I'm always about be realistic. Like have some common freaking sense and watch football committee. Like it's your damn job.
But they don't care about that.
You got to look at how crappy, and it's so hard not to use the S word there because it's so much worse than crappy, that conference is. And look at the kind of the primrose path Texas has been down. That would be what I would normally say. And I would say, hell yeah, one loss or Georgia that didn't win its because Texas went into Bryant-Denny and beat Alabama. I don't care what part of this. I know Bama looks better than Texas right now. But because I say that, they barely beat Auburn last week. It took a miracle. Mm-hmm. Because they went in there and won that game, true. I think that supersedes.
Oh, no.
And to me, it goes ahead of the fact that, hey, the Big 12.
Let's just be real, though. I'm jumping the gun, but I'm picking Georgia to win that game.
I am, too.
Yeah.
I am, too.
But let me ask you this. What's a better win? Beating a 11th-ranked Alabama with a struggling quarterback at Alabama, or beating the number 1 ranked team in the country on a neutral site?
Bama would have a
better or losing to Oklahoma.
Yeah.
In a moment, we're going to go to the Angry Elephant News and Social Center because we're going to play the game of Pick 6. And that is where we can find Hannah Harrison as she runs right back to her chair as she was helping out Seth see something on her computer. Hannah, I bought some time for you. Hello.
Thank you. That was quite literally a skedaddle. Anyways. Y'all ready for the first pick this week?
Let's do it. Yeah. Nunez is real cocky right now.
No, I'm actually not.
Pulled into first place.
That's great.
Confetti.
I was gonna say.
What'd you do? Go 5-1 or something?
I did well last
God
week. Yeah.
Dang.
But thank you, sir.
Are you in first?
I am.
I've got a shot. I've got an outside shot.
But if I was smart, I would just do all the same picks.
We're gonna have to, exactly. We're gonna have to know your picks because I got to make up some ground.
I've been doing it forever, and I've won it once.
Why does that? Wait.
He's been doing it forever. He's won it once.
Yeah, I feel like I've won it more than once.
Wait a second. I'm not going to tell you what I got. If you didn't listen to the show,
never won it.
You missed out.
I was busy driving up here.
Who's won him? The Walrus won a couple years ago.
We need to have a. We need to find out.
Yeah, let's get to
3.
Well, I might change my mind when
Dalton,
I hear yours.
whoever's in charge back there, keeping the track of this. We need like a yearly running list of who's
Ethan Jones.
Ethan, is he?
Ethan's the one in charge of it.
Rocco won it one year, I believe.
Rocco, yeah, I do remember that.
He did, and that was when he was like 12.
He was the walrus, probably.
Look, we've lost to Rocco. We've lost to Candace. We've lost to Gabe. I'm sure he's won at least one. Mm-hmm. I don't know that Olin's won it.
I won the Eagle last year, so
that's pretty wild.
Did they have a picture of a walrus in your for your picture?
I don't remember, but
my problem was the Eagle one. Cease has changed the dates. and I keep missing it and having to go like 3 times. I've had to go with the consensus.
I love that group picture y'all did with all the people from the Eagle that we were doing the picks. Didn't y'all do like a group pick together?
No, it just has everybody's picture, I think.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I don't know what you're
Getting that ordered out.
I think y'all should
Dude,
do
I'm rooting for you over these two. Let's just put it that
I hope I win, but I'm not very cocky. I keep it quiet.
No, get ahead of yourself. Look,
Let's go. I'm going to win this.
speaking
Zaniac.
of cocky, here goes this guy with the wraparound beard.
Oregon,
He's starting to look like the lead singer from
Washington.
Alabama.
That's a good look for him.
They're going with Oregon as 9.5 point favorites.
Washington has not been real impressive lately.
Yeah, they really.
But they keep winning. I
I'm
think people are writing them. And by the way, they beat Oregon.
not going. I'm picking Washington on this.
I am too to cover. I'm actually picking Oregon to win.
Yeah, I don't really care if they win. They're going to cover that.
Esteban?
Who'd you pick, Nuno?
I'm going to wait till he talks.
Oh, this is some bull crap.
This
right
is
here.
the way you roll.
Well,
We'll alternate then.
Huh?
How many picks?
Just
you have?
one.
Oh,
We're gonna alternate then. You go. I'll go first, and then you can go first.
Okay.
I'm gonna go Washington to cover.
I went Washington as well.
Oh,
I did earlier at 8 o'clock in the morning. I went. Yeah.
all right.
Woo!
Pick
Sorry.
2.
Hannah?
All right. Next up, you have Oklahoma's number 18, Oklahoma State at number 7, Texas. Texas is favored by 14.5. Parlay.
I'm going. This is
Parlays are
going to
supposed
be
to be-
emotional, and I'm picking Oklahoma State to not only cover but to win this game.
Christmas.
Dang, son. I hope you're right.
Because I hate Texas that much, and just the thought of them in the playoffs makes me want to vomit. So there.
Okay.
Well, I'm going Texas to cover, like maybe double that cover. Maybe win by 28-30. Oklahoma State is
You want me
rancid.
to tell you what I did?
Hang on.
Yes, I
Oklahoma State is horrific, Seth.
Yeah.
They are
I don't
playing
care.
And Texas has a good run defense.
a rancid football team in their championship when other teams are playing real teams. They've played rancid football teams for the last 6 to 8 weeks.
Do you think that 18
And-
is glamour just to give Texas more notoriety that they beat a ranked team?
They are going to pummel them. Like how is Oklahoma State ranked 18th when they've lost as bad as they have to UCF and
They have
South Alabama?
such a soft schedule, man.
Anyway, Route Central. I would pick that one, and I would pick Washington to cover. I'd feel really good about that type of little. I know the parlays are like sucker bets, but I'd feel great about that.
Steve, for your info, I did take Texas.
Yeah, I mean, Billy pretty much talked me into that pick
Okay.
with that rant.
Good.
So-
that means I got one up on y'all.
All Oklahoma State.
And how many points behind are you?
I
2?
don't know.
I think you're only 2 behind.
I'm rooting for you, Seth.
All right.
Yeah.
Let's. You're 3 behind. Hannah?
All right. Next up, you have SMU at number 22, Tulane. Tulane is favored by 5.5.
Willie Fritz.
I've not watched either of these teams.
I know this. Every time I turn on the TV on like a random Thursday or Friday night, SMU is beating the brakes off somebody. But
They are.
he's done a good job up there, Rhett Lashley. But didn't their quarterback go down?
I think
this
that's
past
right.
weekend, and he's
They're
really
on the
good.
backup quarterback.
And Willie Fritz has done a damn remarkable job at Tulane the last couple of years.
He sure has.
U of H is kind of deciding. I know Traylor's involved in that. Fritz. I think either one of those would be a great hire for the Cougars. But I love what Fritz is doing.
Mm-hmm.
And if you want substance there at U of H and like just a guy that just wins, you couldn't have hired him here in that situation. But I bet if you would have, the guy would have won.
Yeah.
He's that good.
So you
Steve,
Tulane.
you, and then me.
Steve?
I'm gonna go Tulane.
Steve, quit copying me.
I mean, bro, you're making some good cases here. I don't know anything about them.
I don't know either.
Like it's like he's cheating on the test. He just rolled in like, let me see your scan.
Exactly. Who's ever watched any of these teams play?
I'm just trying to win here, guys.
I took Tulane as well.
We're
I'm going SMU.
We're gonna have
Let's
to
go.
switch
State
these up.
Nuno's
I'm saying state.
I'm not going
He
into a
is
tie with.
Hooking you right
I'm
now.
a big Dallas
took it at
guy.
8.
SMU. Book it. SMU.
SMU. You might get right. Like that's
Seth, probably a big bottle service guy.
Oh, yeah, right.
He's going to roll into
Dallas. Don't get me started. Dallas
after the SMU game.
Dallas
pop bottles.
Houston is
never
what it's
forget.
all about. I can't believe
celebrates turnovers with a bottle popping.
Oh, do they?
We technically should hit a break here. Should we hit the break and do the final three in the last one, or just knock it out and ask for forgiveness?
It's up to you.
Let's hit a break. We will come back with the final three here on Pick 6 on TexAgs Radio. 3 games to go here on Pick 6, TexAgs Radio, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio. We go back to the Angry Elephant News and Social Center. Hannah, let's finish it off.
Surprise!
Oh, no.
Hey, and before we get into the final 3 games of Pick 6, guys, I've got some breaking news. A new Texas Filmworks reboot of All the President's Men, starring Ryan Browninger and Jason Howe, coming soon to a theater near you.
While I appreciate
all the sources men.
While I appreciate a good Photoshop,
what is this?
I think this one.
Actually, Howell's looks good.
Yeah, I mean,
Ronnie doesn't look.
Y'all should have put Brawny in some with some trucker arm cut off,
sleeveless shirt with a suit on.
These two are doing a great job. I'll leave it at that. They're doing a better job covering the recruiting end of the transition better than that effort by Zane. But Richard, look, I'm the one that gets on you about, hey, guys work. Don't just sit out there in the lobby and talk. So anytime you want to do something like this, you've got free reign. Have fun with it.
There you go.
Thank you, Jamie Murray, for the Photoshop. And I believe the sources are telling us that the source is going to be the new Ben Bradley. So looking forward to seeing you in that picture, Billy.
Thank you, Richard, for that.
By the way, we're probably going to run out of time on the zone, so I apologize. Keep it on YouTube for the end of it. And
there you go.
Again,
what time do we hit? We got like 8 minutes.
No, we got 4.
He's going to get reprimanded. Let's go.
Okay,
let's go.
I'll go first. I'm going. This is a little gamesmanship. I think that Nuno picked Michigan, so I'm picking Iowa.
Who'd you pick, Nuno?
I picked Michigan.
Yes.
Give me Iowa, baby. Woo. We're going to separation Saturday.
Did y'all see that meme and the gif where the punter wears number 9 for Iowa, and he ran out, and they put the Burrow running out for his last game at senior night at LSU underneath, and you see it, and it looks exactly the same, and it's like really he is as important to that football team as Burrow was to the 2019 LSU, and it looks exactly the same. They're running through.
The punter.
The
punter.
So I was going to be doing a lot of punting on Saturday. I think Michigan, well, you know what? These games get weird sometimes, Steve. Harbaugh's back, though, isn't he?
He's back.
Yeah.
Going to be back with a vengeance.
Could be a blowout.
I think Iowa, though, hangs in because Kurt Ferentz always just like he lurks around and he hangs around Iowa like a bad fart. They can't get rid of him. He lingers and he offends everyone in the room with his offensive coaching. And he's going to drag Michigan into that fog. And they're gonna
I don't think Iowa can move the ball at all.
This is too descriptive, dude.
Yeah.
They're 10-2. That's how you stick around.
Yeah. They're going to cover.
So
Michigan's going to
cover,
win
and you
by
took
21.
I said I was going to cover. Yeah.
Oh, so all 3 of you are saying Iowa. Okay.
You went Michigan?
Yeah, I went Michigan.
There you go.
Here's your chance.
Baby.
Here you go. Here's where you win it.
One. That's the only game I'm
Is
watching.
Hannah there? Who's there? Anybody?
I'm back.
Hannah.
All right, go.
I got back. All right, number 14 Louisville versus number 4 Florida State. Florida State's favored 2.5.
Yeah, I'm going to say that the quarterback's going to play and Florida State's going to cover this, and they're going to stay in the national championship hunt and kick Texas out. Another hopeful pick.
You like that backup quarterback, right? What's his name?
Like him.
What's his name, Seth?
Start Jalen.
It's a good guess.
There's a lot of
Rodemaker, right? Rodemaker.
I think we went 4 different, so you might win this whole thing.
He's not going to win it because
upset.
Louisville's unfortunately going to beat Florida State, a team they had no chance to beat had Hunter Travis been healthy. They're going to beat them. They're going to beat Florida State, and it's just enough of lulled to sleep because they lost to a distracted Mark Stoops in Kentucky last week, and it's just enough to wake them up. They're going to get Louisville's best, and that's going to be too much for this quarterback that looked not good last week.
Not too good, yeah. My heart wants to pick freaking Florida State, but my head is telling me Louisville is going to win this game.
Louisville it is. I picked Louisville as well.
Oh, wow. Dude,
You may win the whole
I'm
thing,
going to win
baby.
this thing if it goes the way I'm going.
And you
Sadly,
might actually fall
want
back
you to.
behind
I don't
me,
care at this
is
point.
what
I'm
might
going
happen.
straight for the win.
We're going to go over on YouTube unless we can finish in
Go.
20
Oh,
seconds.
let's
Go.
do it.
Number 1 Georgia versus number 8 Alabama. Georgia's favored 6.5.
Boom. Georgia covers. Texas, go
I'm taking Georgia.
somewhere else.
I'm taking Georgia to
I
cover
take
as
Georgia.
well.
All right, so we got one game difference. All we can do is tie.
Georgia 31,
But he can catch us.
23.
He can catch us.
He can win. He took 4 different.
He's not going to win.
Thank you, everybody, for watching, listening, however you took in the show, and we'll see you on Monday. Thank you.